Happy Wednesday, everyone. Welcome to the 4th episode of Uncovering the Corners of the World. Each episode, I, your host, Karina Kosmala, will be explaining some of the unknown locations or hidden attractions around the United States and around the world, based on my personal experiences actually visiting some of these places and or researching the history behind them. What state in the United States has over 11,000 inland lakes, but 4 lakes that are considered the Great Lakes? If you guessed Michigan, you are correct. Michigan is surrounded by 5 lakes: Lake Michigan, Lake Superior, Lake Huron, Lake Erie, and Lake Ontario. This week, we are going to explore one of the 35,000 islands or so in Michigan, Mackinac Island. Mackinac Island was first explored by French explorers in 1620, as according to the official website for Mackinac Island says. By 1720, the only way to get onto the island was through the Straits of Mackinac, which is a narrow waterway that connects the upper and lower peninsulas, or portions of Michigan. This waterway, back then, was used for fur trade, the main source of economic activity in the area for the French. The fur trade continued even after the United States got control of the island after signing the treaty after the War of 1812. Today, the island is no longer known for its fur trade, nor has fur trade, but rather it's known for its fudge shops and that it is the only carless highway in the United States. By carless, I mean that cars are banned on the island, along with electric bicycles. However, e-bikes are allowed if you have mobility disability. The only way to travel around the 8 miles around the island is by bike, or by foot, or by a horse carriage. The only way to get onto the island is by ferry boat from either Mackinac City, the lower portion of Michigan, or from St. Ignace, upper peninsula, upper portion of Michigan. But before we get to Mackinac Island, our first stop is a bridge that connects the upper peninsula of Michigan, St. Ignace, to the lower peninsula of Michigan, Mackinac City. The Mackinac Bridge, or the Big Mac, or the Mighty Mac, is in Mackinac County, Michigan, and it is now the 5th longest suspension bridge in the world, being 26,372 feet in length. The bridge is similar to the Golden Gate Bridge in California, except that in appearance it's a creamy color rather than a bright orange. Mackinac Bridge was opened in 1957 and was only allowing vehicles to travel on it. But there is one day during the year that people are allowed to walk on the bridge, and that is during the annual Bridge Walk event, held every year since 1958, except this year. This is the only event that vehicles are not allowed on the bridge. It takes approximately 2 hours for walkers to cross the bridge. The original event only had 68 people walk across the bridge, according to the Mighty Mag website. A year later, in 1959, the event was moved to Labor Day, and walkers can start the walk at either end of the bridge. A hidden attraction on Mackinac Island is the Skull Cave, located at Rifle Range Road, Mackinac Island, roughly 0.4 miles north of Fort Mackinac. This small, shallow cave was once used by, supposedly, as a hiding place for Alexander Henry, a fur trader. Alexander Henry was escaping the Pontiac Rebellion in 1763. What he didn't realize until later and perhaps where the name of the cave came from, is that Alexander Henry laid on human bones that were lying on the cave floor. Apparently, the cave was used as a burial site for Native Americans. Today, there aren't any human bones inside it. Instead, there is a sign outside of the cave that marks the discovery of the cave by Alexander Henry. For our last stop on Mackinac Island this week, let's travel back in time to the 1780s to experience the history of Fort Mackinac, located in the Mackinac Island State Park, or specifically at 7127 Huron Road, Mackinac Island. Fort Mackinac was used by the British in 1780 during the American Revolution, after moving it from where today Mackinac City lies. In 1796, 1812, and 1814, there was a battle of who had control over the fort. Whether it was the British, who at one point had control, or the Americans, who also at one point had control and lost the fort to the British. It wasn't until after the war that the United States officially owned Fort Mackinac. Within Fort Mackinac, there are 14 buildings with exhibits inside them that are open to the public. Fort Mackinac was considered a home for soldiers and their families. The 14 original buildings include the Post Commissionary Building and Office, Quartermaster's Storehouse, Post Bathhouse, North Sally Port, restrooms, Soldiers' Barracks with a museum store, an exhibit on the second floor, Avenue of Flags, a schoolhouse, North Blockhouse, Officers' Hill Quarters, West Blockhouse, Post Hospital, and Officers' Stone Quarters. The other buildings include a tea room restaurant, Officers' Wood Quarters, a guardhouse, South Sally Port, which serves as an entrance and an exit, gun platforms that showcase canyon firing demonstrations, East Blockhouse, a water well, parade ground, and a food cart. The layout of the fort can be seen on a demonstration sites and places of interest map on the Mackinac State Historic Parks website. Thank you for listening this week. Next week, we will continue to explore Mackinac Island and its hidden gems, and perhaps other nearby islands around Michigan. See you next week.